And we're back at the 2019 Global Alumni Reunion. Thank you for joining us. I'm sitting here now with event speaker Tal Ben-Shahar. Tal Ben-Shahar is the man responsible for the most popular course in Harvard's history. He's a world-renowned expert on positive psychology and on happiness. Tal, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. So great to be here.
Now, for the viewers who could not attend and did not see your talk, can you give a highlight or two on your talk about bringing happiness to leadership?
Yeah, so the first important thing to keep in mind for business, for organizations, because when we increase levels of happiness, even by a little bit, what we find is a significant increase in productivity, in creativity, in teamwork, in engagement, in motivation. So the main message was, how can we increase levels of happiness, not radically, by a little bit.
Excellent. And I think, speaking of happiness and increasing that, in a lot of parts of the world right now, we seem to be living through an age of anxiety, whether it's economic anxiety, political anxiety. There seems to be, frankly, an uptick in despair and sadness. What is your advice for people on maintaining happiness through fraught, difficult times?
Yeah, and it's a great question and a very important question for us. And the answer is that, first of all, the first step to happiness is allowing in unhappiness. Meaning, the science of happiness will never, tell us avoid painful emotions or get rid of painful emotions. Not possible. So accept painful emotions. Second, there are things that we can do. For example, it turns out that regular physical exercise increases levels of well-being. Expressing gratitude, whether it's in the workplace, appreciating the progress that we made as a team, or at home with our families or by ourselves, expressing gratitude increases levels of well-being. So doing these little things consistently as a ritual over time increase levels of happiness.
Excellent. And I saw you tweet and speak about the importance of lifelong learning to happiness. That is a pillar of the IESE alumni community. I think some adults think that maybe when they're out of school that their learning has ended. What can adults do to continue with that lifelong learning, and what does it mean to their happiness?
Yeah, oh great. So recently research came out, which I love, which shows that people who are curious actually live longer. In other words, being a lifelong learner, asking questions all the time, learning contributes to our physical health as well as to our happiness. So the key is, and today it's relatively easy to do so, is to learn all the time, to ask questions, whether it's of our family members and colleagues, whether it's to go online and watch a lecture, or to explore a new field. But learning, lifetime learning, contributes to health, longevity, happiness, as well as to performance.
Fantastic. That'll make our alumni happy to hear. Also, and you just touched on this, but the importance of social bonds, of friendship. Aside from the academic sessions here at the reunion, there's obviously a lot of socializing, people reuniting with old friends, making new friends. What does friendship have to do with happiness, and how can people foster those bonds?
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating when I say everything. What do I mean? Number one predictor of happiness is quality time we spend with people we care about and who care about us. You see it on a national level. The happiest countries in the world are countries where relationships matter. The happiest individuals and healthiest individuals. These two, I think you're seeing a theme here, right? They often go hand in hand. The happiest and healthiest people have relationships, cultivate relationships, not perfect relationships, there are no perfect relationships, but for them relationships are a priority. And that means that at times we need to disconnect in order to connect. Make time for the most important people in our lives.
Okay, you're leading me to my next question. Yesterday we devoted a whole day to entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology. I think it may be a little bit up in the air if technology helps or hinders happiness. There's a lot of talk about adolescents, young people in particular, always being glued to their phones. What is your take on that? How can technology actually help us be happier?
Good. Yeah, that's a very important question, especially for the younger generation, but for all of us. Number one addiction today is not drugs, not alcohol, not gambling. Number one addiction today is the screen. And we need to find better ways of dealing with that addiction. And if we're parents, it's by limiting screen time for our children. If we're adults, by deciding on times when we're off, when we're disconnected. Otherwise, technology takes over. Technology is great, social media is great in moderation, and we need to learn to use it rather than to be abused by it. Easier said than done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, just to close out, if you could give one practical tip, the thing you think is the most important thing that when our viewers and our alumni wake up tomorrow morning that they can do to set the day off on a happy note, what would it be?
If you start the day by writing down 3 things that you're grateful for and 3 things that you're looking forward to during the day, this 1 minute or 2 minutes can actually set a positive tone for the entire day. So 3 things that you're grateful for that happened and 3 things that you're looking forward to.
Excellent. Well, please, everyone at home, keep that in mind and start that tomorrow morning if you haven't started it already. Tal, thank you again for being here. It's been a pleasure, and we've appreciated your advice here today.
Thank you very much.
Now, of course, an event of this magnitude would not be possible without the generosity of sponsors. One of those sponsors is Steelcase, and I'm here with Alejandro Pucina from Steelcase. Alejandro, welcome, and thank you for being here and for your support of this event.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Tell us a little bit about the workplace of the future, office innovation. What can our viewers expect to see coming down the line?
Yeah, well, with the amazing speed of change and transformation every company is going through, space is becoming part of the strategic agenda for any CEO. Why? Because space drives behaviors, and behaviors over time change the culture. And today is absolutely necessary, a culture shift for any kind of transformation the company is going through. So it's the combination of the digital workplace and physical workplace working together with technology, people, processes, and so on to achieve this new ecosystem absolutely necessary to achieve our goals.
Very interesting. So many changes afoot in the world of working and the office. Appreciate you being here, and thank you again for your help.
A pleasure for us. Thank you.
Now, we're going to continue walking through this venue. You can see lunch, I think, is beginning to be served. You'll see here the IESE shop where you can pick up all sorts of merchandise. You can pick it up here or online. And I'm here with Marlene Shahar from IESE from merchandising. Marlene, thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going this year?
Great. We're launching new products. We're launching a new collection of home appliances, and we're very, very happy to be premiering here at the GAR.
Excellent. I actually overheard some alumni talking earlier that this is the best setup they've seen yet, people who are veteran GAR attendees. What is new with this setup in particular?
So we've got new colors on our t-shirts, although today everyone is wearing the corporate red, gray and white. And we're launching for public sales the backpack we have for MBAs. It's a security backpack because our 2 biggest campus and the MBA campus is in Barcelona, so we try to have a steel-free option for cruising around the city. And then last but not least, we're launching our sports gear, because what we do is we accompany our students when they leave class. They miss IESE so much that what we do is practically give you gadgets to take away your love for IESE. The sports gear is new. Bike gear and football gear and just a plain paddle tennis whatever t-shirt. Everything from the Craft Crow branding with very great. And what you can have today and should buy online if you haven't is the Solidarity t-shirt of IESE. What we're doing is that 100% of the benefit of these t-shirts goes to the scholarship programs, and you can support it. Buy it, do sports, miss your school, think of us, and then you get a pin of I'm a giver, which I'm happy you heard that giving makes people happy. And you can do that with us too.
Excellent. And just lastly, for the alumni who sadly couldn't make it to the reunion today, where can they go to pick up this incredible merchandise online?
Very easy, ieseshop.com, IESESHOP.com.
You heard it right. Okay, thank you very much, Marlene.
Thank you so much.
Now we're going to walk again through the venue. Behind me you have the registration area, which was absolutely buzzing earlier. Here at the Palau de Congressos. We're about to pass an actual cornerstone of the setup. This is a Caixa Bank setup here. And in addition to having alumni here at the event, we have some current MBAs. Let's go meet one of them. Hello, we're back. I'm here standing with Rebecca Kung from IESE's Women in Business Club. Rebecca, thank you for speaking with us today.
Hi, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the latest activity and planning what's going on with the Women in Business Club at IESE?
Sure, absolutely. So now we're promoting our next big conference. It's the 5th edition of the Women in Business Conference. That will be held on the 6th of February here in Barcelona. So the subject is called The Power of We. That's the theme. Why do we say that? Because by saying we want to be inclusive. We want to include both genders, both men and women who are interested in equality, because we believe it's a very important thing in a work environment.
And it's very much in the news right now in the cultural conversation. How optimistic are you about the changes that have been happening and will continue to happen?
Well, we are very optimistic. I mean, it's a gradual change. It's not going to change overnight, but we believe the optimistic and this progress that's taking place, and we want to be that part of that positive force, and that's why we're trending this, we're pushing this forward. So do join us on the 6th of February.
The 6th of February, don't forget, we'll be reminding you too before the event. Thank you again, Rebecca.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the event. I am here with Heidi San, who is an MBA student, and she is here working the Doing Good, Doing Well booth. Doing Good, Doing Well is an event that IESE puts on every year. And Heidi, tell us a little bit more about what this setup is and what alumni can expect to see at the Doing Good, Doing Well booth.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Heidi, and this year is our 7th edition of Doing Good, Doing Well, and it's the largest student-organized event in Europe. And here you can take a look. Here are the seven topics that we are going to discuss about during the conference, from global warming to the circular economy. And we also invite some alumni to come to discuss with our students to see how they can involve in this sector after they graduate from IESE.
Fantastic, very good. Thank you so much, Heidi, for that, and enjoy the rest of the event. Okay, viewers, we are going to take a short break now. We'll be back with a creative game of tennis. You'll see what I mean. And now we're going to connect you to a live academic session with Harvard Business School professor Kathleen McGinn. She's talking about gender inclusivity. Enjoy, and we'll see you later.
Moving to organizations, we wanted to study organizations that truly fostered inclusiveness through individual action and collective action. But the issue is that the payoffs to diversity, because they rely on inclusion, require that you have a lot of mix between sort of insiders and outsiders in organizations. And yet what we see in most organizations that we study, when my colleagues and I go out and try to work with organizations to increase inclusiveness, what we find is that men really consider themselves insiders and are part of decision-making, are influential, and women feel much more like outsiders. We needed to find an organization, if we wanted to study what works, we needed to find an organization where it actually worked. In some organizations, in most organizations that we work with, insiders, largely men, think of themselves differently. So we ask people, when we first go to work with an organization, we ask people to give us adjectives that describe what it feels like to be part of this organization. And this is one large international tech organization, and the 4 words men used most were exciting, learning, fun, and chaotic. When we asked women who thought of themselves as outsiders, so fun was still in there, but the top 2 words for women were challenging and frustrating. We needed to find an organization where exciting and learning was the experience of everyone in the organization, where inclusion was truly possible. So we found an organization, we found an organization that had, in many ways, done exactly what needed to be done to foster inclusiveness. They had a business-based solution. It was driven by the senior leaders. The CEO was an incredible salesperson. The CEO was involved in every stage, and as the CEO changed, there was one point at which the CEO was less involved, and they saw a dip, and so the CEO became involved again. The changes were integrated across the organization into the strategy. They were focused, they were tied to metrics, and they were consistently and broadly followed. Now, everything you learn about how to increase inclusiveness in organizations will essentially tell you that this is what's necessary. So we wanted to ask not what, but how. How is it possible to do this? Because most organizations would love to do this. So we found an organization that had been successful over 20 years. So what you see here, each one of these boxes is 1 year. This is a professional services firm that we'll call A&C. And in the early part, they were a slight leader in terms of women partners in the firm. But as they worked on their inclusiveness, they became a clear leader until finally topping off toward the end of the 20-year period that we watched them. What we did is we gathered all the public source data and all of the internal documentation about their inclusiveness work. And what this showed us was repeated cycles of what we call analysis and action. That is, they didn't institute something and then move forward. What they did was first start by studying what was going on. How can we understand the problem of gender in our organization? They brought together people from across the organization, across levels, which was really critical to get to, first of all, to make sure what they were doing was relevant to what was happening in their organization, and to get buy-in from people across the organization. They also brought in external advisors, but the external advisors played a very different role than the insiders. The external advisors brought credibility to the questions they were asking, to the solutions they were driving, and brought accountability. So that list that Nuria showed of the 5 companies that have 0 women on their board, that's the sort of accountability that's necessary to keep these programs running. In each stage of analysis, gradually they came to understand what sort of solutions would work for the problems at that current time. So they moved to a period of action along the lines that I laid out, and this action would drive change. So for example, in the first round of analyses, what they found early on, and this was in the 90s, was that there was significant bias in the organization. Beliefs that women simply could not, would not, and should not be doing work as good as or equivalent to men. So they instituted lots of different training, and they importantly instituted lots of ways in which women and men could work together. Working together as partners. And the CEO was involved in this at every step of the way. This top-down, bottom-up was critical. But what they found after a few years was that while bias was going away, women were still underrepresented. So they entered another stage, another phase of analysis. That led to a new set of recommendations in terms of structural change and rearranging the way work was done in the organization. That led to new actions supported by leadership and bottom-up activities. That resolved some things, and they continued on and on. How can we build more inclusive organizations and societies? We can start with our children and ourselves by transforming our interactions so that we build in our self-worth, build in the needs of others, and build solutions together. We can create new possibilities in our homes, in our interactions with others, by not acting out the stereotypes, by offering non-traditional gender role models to our children and to others. And we can foster inclusive organizations through individual action and collective action in an ongoing, repeated cycle of analysis and action. All of this takes lots of time, but the results live out in the girls' lives in Zambia, in hundreds of thousands of lives in countries across the globe, and in organizations that are changing the world. All of this, though, has to be done with perseverance. There are no quick solutions to inclusion. It has to be done with patience. It doesn't always work. And it has to be done with love, with true belief that an inclusive society is a necessary and better society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. With the 3 words,